on New England, I wouldn't mind watching Belichick lose at our hand. That might be very satisfying.
Hi, this is Sean Lauer, and welcome to Buffalo Bills pregame show. We're in the playoffs. Woo! That's Jared. That's Danny. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Dan.
I'm Jared.
Today, our first topic, just a fun one to start out with. Do the Bills need a new punter before Saturday's game? Jared, I'll have you go first.
I personally think our punter was just kicking into the wind the whole time. They kept saying he shanked it. I don't really think he did. I've seen some weird wins at the games this year. So I think we're okay. And plus he hadn't punted for 2 games straight, right? So I guess he was a little rusty there too. So I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that this game will not turn into a punt advantage either way.
So, Danny, what do you think about that?
So I think obviously, that was a really bad game by Matt Haack. Definitely his worst of the season. But at the same time, I do understand it was very windy. The weather conditions weren't great. But at the same time, if you're going to be punting in Buffalo, I think you need to adapt to that. So I definitely think they're going to be looking for new options in the offseason when it comes to punter. I know they really prioritize the holder. But I think they definitely need to look elsewhere. I don't think they're going to change and go look for a new punter, 5 days before, playoff games. So I think they're going to hold off with him for the rest of the playoffs, as far as they do go.
Brian Moorman did it for years with no problem. I need a new punter next year. All right. Why can we run on all of a sudden, and can we keep up with their run with the right?
So it seems like all season we couldn't run the ball, right? Like that was our Achilles heel. And now all of a sudden we can run the ball. Now some people have said, oh, Ryan Bates is in there. Now we can run the ball. I don't know. I kind of think we're running the ball because of who we've played the last 4 games. We played the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Jets. None of them have good run defenses. So I think that's kind of why we're running the ball. The last 2 Patriots games, unfortunately, guys, like Singletary didn't run that much. I think Josh Allen was the top rusher in both games. So I don't see us running as well as we did in the last few games. I don't know if either one of you disagree.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think, I think every time the Bills have run the ball well in the second half of the season, it seems like they were doing the opposite of what a lot of teams do. It seemed like they were passing to establish the run or passing to develop the run. I definitely saw that in the game against Tampa. So if they can get that going, I think that's definitely going to be the key. I don't think, although it's going to be very cold, I don't think the wind is going to be as much of a factor. So if they can definitely get that going. And in terms of New England's run game, I think that, obviously they ran all over us. The first game, maybe somewhat the second game, but I think the bottom line is if you can force Mac Jones into making just 1 or 2 big mistakes, I think that can be the difference of the game.
Yeah, I think they're going to run all over us. Interference. They're going to run all over us, but I think Devin Singletary is much improved because of the Josh Allen effect. He's running way more. I think they held back last game. They had way less design runs, and I think that was by design. No pun intended there, because I think they're holding it back for this game, to be honest, because I think the Jets suck, and they knew they could beat them other ways. You don't need to put your quarterback's body on the line for a game like that. All right, so it's going to be 10 degrees in the game. Will the winds impact the passing game as much as they did in the Monday Night Football game, Jared?
I don't think so. I mean, the wins at the Monday Night Football game were probably some of the strongest I've ever experienced. I mean, you watched the game on TV and you couldn't really see it, but if you were there, you would know that basically the passing game for both teams was gone, and it was a run versus run game, essentially. However, I do know that when the temperature drops down to below 10 degrees, catching footballs sometimes feels like catching bricks. So depending on how Josh throws the ball, it might impact the game to a small extent.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen, that's one thing that you don't get out of many quarterbacks, is where I feel like he throws it so hard, especially in some of those bad weather games. It is a little bit more challenging to catch it, but no, I think it is going to be very cold, and it might not be as windy as the Monday night game, but you saw it against the Jets, you saw it against even the Falcons, and to an extent the Panthers. When it's winter in Buffalo, it's even a little bit of wind can definitely make an effect. So that might play a little bit of a role. I mean, even if you look back at the playoff game last year against Baltimore, how the wind affected that game. So we'll definitely see. I don't think it'll be as bad. I definitely think if we learn anything from the Monday night game is that no matter how windy it is, I still think you need to trust Josh Allen to throw the ball.
Guys, look for a special teams play to really make a big difference in this game. That's Bill Belichick's special. Sean McDermott knows that after, block punt a couple years ago, after your punting woes yesterday. I think the win comes more into play with the special teams. Also, who wins a coin toss? And, when can you get hot? Because the Bills obviously played terrible when they had the win going against them and played great when they had it. That was true last game. It was true in the Pats game 2 times ago. And it'll be true, tomorrow, even though 10 miles an hour, 20 max, but still going to affect everything. And it's nighttime too, right? And but also you got to remember that raucous crowd with the increased pressure. So, I think Mac Jones is a garbage quarterback. So I think Josh gets it done there. All right. The defense, guys. Any chance the Patriots will just run all over the Bills the entire game, and can they stop it? Jared.
Well, I can't imagine them shutting down Mac Jones the entire game and having him only throw like 5 or 10 times. It's just they had to do that in the Monday Night Football game. Now, they might realize, maybe doing that will help us win again, but the problem is, though, the reason they can't do that is because this time Josh will be able to throw the ball. So they can't afford to waste the entire game just running it when Josh can just come down and score really quick. So, no, I think that they're going to have to, once again, try to have Mac Jones come in and do what he does. Like you said, I don't think he's good either, Sean. And as long as the Bills can defensively make it a Mac Jones game and shut down that run, I think we can duplicate what we did a few weeks ago, week 16.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think, if, in terms of the Patriots run game, if they get something a little bit going, as long as the Bills offense can perform how we know they can perform, I think you've seen in past games. I remember last 2020 when Kansas City played in Buffalo, they ran all over the Bills, and the Bills were right there with them because the Bills had, for the most part, shut down Patrick Mahomes in the passing game. Obviously, Mac Jones is no Patrick Mahomes, but I think I saw something where it was like Mac Jones is 7-1 when he doesn't throw an interception. So, like I said earlier, if you can force him to make a mistake. I mean, really, it's in the 2 games the Bills played the Patriots. The Bills won the game where Mac Jones was asked to do something, not even much, but something, The game where he was asked to do barely anything is when the Patriots had the advantage. So, like I said, if you can force Mac Jones into some of those errors, I think that'll be the key.
I think that this defense has come alive, guys. I think they've had like almost 20 sacks in 2 games. I know the Jets' defense or offensive line is garbage. And I just think that they've found their own in that. And I think that the Bills have a groove with that as well on offense. I think that look how many incompletions Josh had. You're trusting your defense. And, I just think, I think that the chances of the Patriots doing the running craziness again is not super high. I know I'm contradicting what I said earlier. But I definitely think they're going to be successful because that's what they do. So we'll see what Bill Belichick has to come. All right, Jared, keys of the game.
Key of the game is staying ahead. And I know that seems obvious, but what I mean is staying ahead so they have to rely on Mac Jones. They can't just sit back and run the ball the whole game. They have to put it in Mac Jones' hands, and then that's where the Bills are the number one team in the league in terms of pass defense. That's where our strengths are. So get ahead early, stay ahead, and make it so that Mac Jones is horrible the whole game.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to go. I would say my keys to the game are going to be Cole Beasley and Isaiah McKenzie, the two slot guys. I think, what we saw the Monday night game was, and even definitely to an extent, the game in New England, where it seemed like they were taking away a lot of the Bills' longer, deeper passing yards. And Josh Allen did a really good job of just taking, those 5-yard, 6-yard dump offs to Beasley, Mckensie, and even Devin Singletary. So as long as we can do that and keep the ball moving, I think that'll be really important.
My key is getting Josh Allen design runs. Just he's gonna have 3 running touchdowns in this game. I just feel it. Like, who do they think he was? That's right. That's all I need to say. All right.
You better make that bet. You better make that bet on draft or dual stuff or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
draft. You know what I'm talking about. The betting stuff.
Yeah. All right, Jared. Pick for the game.
You guys are never going to believe this. I'm going with the Patriots. Unfortunately, I hate it, but
Wow.
my only thought is like.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Like, yeah, you can throw pills at me all you want. I just thought that both in the Jets game and the Falcons game, yes, they won the games, but man, they did not look that great in both games. And I'm like, okay, so now we're playing like a good team now. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think the Patriots are going to just squeak by, unfortunately, 27-24.
Interesting. Okay.
Please rebut me. Go ahead. Tell me why I'm wrong.
No, it's fine. I respect your opinion. The Bills are the much more talented team, and I think you saw that the second time around when there wasn't 50-mile-an-hour winds. So I think the Bills should be able to show that, and I think the wind is going to play a little bit more of an effect than people think. So I'm not going to say it's going to be a shootout. Definitely can't really even be a shootout with Mac Jones. I'm going to say 20-16 Bills.
Oh, wow, nice. I'm going to pick the Bills too. Let's say this. Jared, I'm going to rebut the heck out of you because that was a terrible, terrible statement right there. But I'm glad you didn't pick it so we're not all Bills homers, right? So we can get called out like they do when they don't pick the Bills. The Bills have played tough, and I think you want that. I think you want a team that is not just train rolling into the next game because they just didn't expect to win. And obviously, as we know, you can't expect to do that against Bill Belichick. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time for a reason. So, I think the weather plays a huge role in those games. The Patriots have lost to what? Miami? Did they lose to the Jets too? Who else did they lose to recently? They lost to someone else recently.
They lost to the Colts.
Those Colts.
Yeah, they lost to the Colts. Okay. All right. So I guess I thought it was a little worse than it was. I mean, Colts didn't make the playoffs, so
they lost the last 2 out of 3, if that's where it is.
Right. So losing to 2 non-playoff teams. A lot of the, obviously our Jags is the worst loss, but I just think that the Bills are playing so much better ever since that second half in Tampa Bay. So Bills 23-17. Guys, next game. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say. I believe I was spot on with last week's pick. I think I said 31-13 Bills. Well, no. So what was the score? It was 27-10 Bills, right? The Bills beat Jets.
So in other words, you didn't get it right, but
I'm close enough. I mean, this says the same point differential.
Okay.
My math is correct, but
17
All right,
off.
Jared,
Okay.
since you picked the
I see what
Patriots
you're
to
saying.
win, what are we doing for that next game comment or topic? Are me and Dean Danny just talking about that?
Well,
Who can they
next
play?
game is either going to be nobody or the next opponent. Who do you guys think the next opponent's going to be? Do you think it's going to be
it'll
the Chiefs?
definitely be the Chiefs. The Bills, unfortunately, are, if they do win, are not most likely not going to have another home game because of the Steelers somehow making the playoffs over
I think it's
the
just
Chargers. Chargers or Raiders would have given them a much better matchup.
I'm telling you guys that Roethlisberger magic is there. Everyone's like, oh, it's Ben Roethlisberger's last game. That's been the story the last 2 weeks. They've won both games. They're going to say, oh, this could be Ben Roethlisberger's last throw, and then they beat the Chiefs, which would be great for the Bills because then we would have the next home game again.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So this is a weird moment where we want the Steelers to do well. It's strange.
Yeah, get your terrible towels out. Jeez.
Ugh.
This game starts it starts 5:15 p.m. for me, so I'll be able to enjoy celebrating on the West Coast. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to going to Trashville and watching the Bills spank the Titans in 2 weeks here. So that's your preview for 2 weeks from now, if you guys want it. So I'll be spending a $500 plane ticket probably, and probably.
Well, what I'm hoping for, Sean,
alcohol.
and you might like this too, is that the Steelers keep going with that Ben Roethlisberger last throw. They beat the Titans in the divisional round. And then the Bills beat either Cincy or Vegas, and they have home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs, courtesy of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we go to the Super Bowl, or we lose to the Patriots, one or the other. It's gonna be one of those.
So you're wishing to not go to the AFC Championship game at home because I'm going to get those tickets. Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes. Then yeah.
I'm going
yes,
to the
I'm wishing
AFC
for
Championship game and or the Super Bowl. If they make either one, or they make both, I'll probably go to both. Well,
Okay.
if I
Fine.
already spent my money on the AFC Championship game, I probably will just drive to Los Angeles and hang out there for 3 days or something like that.
All right.
Just live with all the homeless people there. All right. Good job, guys. This is 2022 pregame show for the divisional round game and Wildcard. Shit. Getting ahead of myself. Pleasure having you guys. Peace out.